You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steelers Nation. It's The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, you know the drill. 2 hours with you here on this Wednesday as we rock and we roll and we get closer and closer to the negotiation period, free agency, a busy week next week. But Matt?
The busiest week.
The busiest week, yes. Yeah. But as we kind of have alluded to, I think you even said this at the end of the show yesterday, there's still going to be a lot happening this week. Mm-hmm. And we have a little bit of a blockbuster trade that went down
that's a blockbuster.
This afternoon
that counts.
In the National Football League. Stop me if you've heard this before, but the LA Rams have traded their first-round pick. Shocker, right? None of us could have seen that one coming. The LA Rams, their second of their 2 first-round picks. So they have
this is the one they earned.
The one they earned, 29th overall, because they do have the Falcons' 13th overall pick. So the LA Rams trade for the Kansas City Chiefs cornerback Trent McDuffie, and Kansas City receives first-round pick, 29th overall this year, 5th and 6th this year, and then third rounder in 2027 next year. So 4 picks in total, first rounder, third rounder, 5th and 6th for Trent McDuffie.
Let's start with the Rams. You mentioned it, very Rams-like move, trading for Jalen Ramsey, Brandon Cooks. I mean, there's a long list of going to get a veteran, even if it costs you a first-round pick. We're in it to win it now. My first thought was, I think that takes him out of the Ty Simpson situation. You know, I think that just says we're trying to win now. We're not building for the future. I would think their first pick is going to be a tackle or something non-quarterback, you know, some kind of win now type of move. And I would imagine McDuffie, they give up a lot. I thought that was a nice haul for the Chiefs.
It's a very good haul, yeah.
It's a really good haul for the Chiefs. I'll talk about them in a minute. But I think it was definitely the Rams' biggest need. I mean, corner was the weakest area on the team. He's better in the slot than outside, but he does both. And that's what they did Ramsey. I mean, I think the Rams are so smart. I think they're like the smartest team in the league. And McVay's, I think, the best coach in the league. And I just think they realize that these valuable slot corners are worth every penny. You know, I mean, and that's actually what they did with Ramsey before he went to the Dolphins. You know, they were ahead of the game on that. But he's more than that. He's also an outside guy, which they were very weak at. Mid-20s. Now they're going to have to extend him, which is an issue. And that's why he's not a Chief, because Chiefs they
got some cap issues.
Yeah, they had to go to the Bank of Mahomes and make a move there to get cap compliant. And it's not to the degree of when they traded Tyreek, but it's let's get a bunch of draft capital, and our quarterback's still the same. We know we'll be in this thing, but we need a little bit of a facelift, a little bit of a youth movement.
A little younger, a little cheaper.
Yeah, a little cheaper. 2 first-round picks for them, as well as additional stuff. They can move around the board if needed. Maybe they jump up 2 spots and grab Love out of Notre Dame in the first round.
Maybe they use that third-round pick as some ammunition.
They got extra stuff.
Yeah.
And the other thing about them, they have a great history of just developing defensive backs.
Boy, do they.
You know, so I think they know their strengths that, all right, we'll give our coaching staff and Spags a second-round corner or
maybe the
29th pick or
29th
whatever.
Pick, yeah.
He'll develop them, and we'll throw in a 4th-rounder in the mix, and he'll develop them too, you know. So makes sense.
I think it makes sense for both of these teams. It is funny because, as you mentioned, everyone kind of knows that this is what the Rams, since they took Jared Goff in 2016, they've used their first-round pick once.
It was
since
last
then.
year, yeah.
It was Jared Verse. They did pretty good on that one. But
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. 2017 traded their first-round pick to the Titans. 2018 to the Patriots. 19 and 19 to the Falcons. 20 and 21 to the Jags for the Jalen Ramsey trade. 22 and 23 to the Lions for the Goff and Stafford trade. 24 they draft Jared Verse. 25 first-round pick to the Falcons. 26 first-round pick to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
No, they're win-now team. And I think I've mentioned this. Even during that stretch, they didn't have a first-round pick for, 9 years in a row? They still made more than 7 picks almost every year. Yes. Like, they were really good with the comp game. And they averaged – I did a study on it. They averaged, somewhere between 9 and 10 picks a year, despite not having number 1.
And a lot of those years not having a second-rounder either.
Right. I mean, a lot of those were big-time trades. And you still end up with the Pukas, and, they still hit on some dudes. So – they do things a little different, but it's working.
That they do. And so for both sides, I think this makes sense. If you're Kansas City, you kind of get a little bit cheaper and you trust your staff to go out and develop another top corner that they've done a few times here in recent history.
They have a lot of needs, and they're just going to draft a lot of dudes.
And if you're the Rams, you still have your 13th pick. You still have a top 15 pick in the first round in this draft where you can get somebody who can have an instant impact for you right away this season. It's a big one. I think it makes a lot of sense for both teams, and that kind of kicking off, I think, what is going to be the first of many moves here in the next we're
already
days.
seeing like cuts and not huge names and things like that, and Dallas is restructuring Dak and Lamb and those guys. I think there was.
That's where I was going to go next. So speaking of the bank of Mahomes, the Dallas Cowboys went to the bank of a few different players of theirs on big salaries. Dak Prescott, wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, and left guard Tyler Smith have all been restructured. The Cowboys were nearly $55 million over the cap before the moves, but the restructuring of those three clears up around $66 million in cap space.
Now, this also influences the Pickens franchise tag move, too, because
Makes
that's
sense.
Guaranteed money. I mean, one of the things people don't talk about with the franchise tag is, and I assume the same with fifth-year option now I think about it, is you can't move that money around. Whatever it is. If it's $20 million tag, it's $20 million cap.
There's no kind of magic potion, fugazi things that you can do with those.
Shell tricks or whatever, right?
Yes.
Now, you could extend Pickens and move money around that way, but on the franchise tag, he's getting that money, and it's counting against the cap that much,
It makes sense for Dallas. We know that they are another one of those. They're in win now mode. I think
think so. Yeah.
A lot of those trades that they made in the course of last season, like after the Parsons trade.
After they dealt Parsons, were for next year.
For 2026, clearly. And this was probably on the cards. Able to restructure those three of those big contracts, get themselves under the cap, add in George Pickens, maybe a little room to make another move or two.
Yeah, I would think they'd still be shopping for defense a little bit. And they do have 2 first-round picks, but they don't have a second or third.
Until day 3,
right?
Yeah.
So kind of odd. Maybe they just want to trade out of round 1 and get more day 2 stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, certainly. But a lot of times, these are precursor moves to something else that's going with it. And then, Matt, another name that we had kind of talked about and speculated when we've done some of these cut candidate conversations. We'll have another one of those today in hour number 2, now that the picture has become a little bit more clear. But the Chargers releasing Mekhi Becton, according to Jeremy Fowler, will become official in the coming days, in a move that will save the Chargers $9.7 million against the cap.
And they don't need it. They got a ton of space, too. So this doesn't bode well for Becton. So
is it purely a money decision?
I don't know. That's what I was going to say.
He's not healthy enough to command what we're paying him.
I assume it's a health thing.
But maybe we'll still try and bring him back on a lower number. I don't know.
Yeah. He's just had a really interesting career. This time, right after his combine, the world was a flutter about Mekhi Becton. I mean, he was like 360, 370, screaming down the track. I mean, like, whoa, I have not seen people that big run that fast. He may even broke 5.0.
Him and Tristan Wirfs in that same class were just freaks.
Like, holy cow.
I think that might have been my first or second combine with you or Dale, actually. Was that one where it's like, look at these tackle prospects, man.
Yeah, and no one batted an eye when the Jets took him. And he was okay, but kind of underwhelming at tackle. Injuries have always been a hindrance for him every step of the way. Then he goes to the Eagles, who the great O-line coach, Stoutland, and got him pretty much on a bargain rate. Moved him full-time to guard, and he was phenomenal for the Eagles. Then he hits the open market, and the Chargers pay him well, $9 million a year or whatever, and hasn't been healthy, and really has only been a high-quality dude for the Eagles. Guard only, I would think, at this point, too. But he'll be a starter somewhere, just how long can he stay on the field?
Would you have any interest in him in the black and gold?
Not at $9 million a year, but maybe
absolutely
6,
not.
5, something like that. Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of ability there.
There's a ton of ability there. But there's a lot of recent injury, and kind of just throughout the course of his. He even when he was at his best in Philadelphia and part of that Super Bowl winning team, he was still in and out of the lineup with some injury issues. So that's my only thing. Like, we've talked about this a little bit with Sayamalu. I think when you have such a young offensive line coming together,
I like having the leader, big brother guy.
I like having the leader, big brother guy, but I want that to be a guy who's practicing on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
That's not always Siamalu either, though.
That's not always
right,
that's the one part of me that's like, if you move on from Siamalu and go in a different direction, I'm fine. Fine with is probably the best way to put it. I obviously am not opining to let him go because he gets veteran days off on Wednesdays and things like that. But
the Steeler medical staff might be like, you should let him go. We
like
can hardly get him to
getting
game
him
day.
to Sunday was a task every single week.
Can hardly pull that off.
And it's one thing I give Aaron Rodgers a ton of credit for. The only practices that he missed were the two Wednesdays that he was fresh off of that wrist injury. And this is one of those, I don't think people realize how much it means. But for someone like Kendrick Green or Mason Cole, the two guys who preceded Zach Frazier.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking Ben Roethlisberger for this. He was at that stage of his career and he had earned the right. But we all know how Ben's practice schedules were.
Oh, sure.
Full day, half day, day off.
Yeah.
Full day, half day, day off. Almost never practiced Wednesdays in season.
No.
And things like training camp, full day, half day, day off. When you're a rookie center, when you're Mason Cole, who is trying to nail down center after you had played mostly guard with the Vikings, I think you want your quarterback there every single day in practice to be part of that, to be working with
you. Let
alone
and again, the young receivers or everybody. Everybody.
And again, that's not a knock on Ben. Ben wasn't doing that stuff when he was 28 years old. It was that stage of his career where he was at. But I would like to, as we always talk about building that nest that particularly starts with the offensive line, I want 5 guys who can get as much work together as possible. The Veterans Day rest stuff and the injury concern stuff, I understand that's part of the equation, but I want those
especially
5
those big body guys. When you've got an ankle or a knee that's and you're 330, it doesn't get better as quick as the other.
There's not a lot of relief.
Right. Yeah, you're kind of rough on the lower body extremities.
That's kind of a real thing for me to keep an eye on. I think there has to be a correlation between the step forward that we saw the offensive line take this past year. Still not perfect, still not the finished product, but clearly a step forward. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers was there with those guys for 99% of those practices.
It has to be
like I want
a big effect.
I want all those guys getting as many reps together as possible. That's just I don't even know a concern, but that's a factor for me when we talk about the future of the left side of that offensive line.
And anyone will tell you continuity on the O-line is almost as important as talent or scheme or all those things, just knowing one another. How many times, would Wolf tell stories, Tunch and I would just kind of grunt at each other and we knew what we were talking about. Yeah. And he's like, the guys that were on the Super 70s team before of us, I don't think they ever said words to each other. They all just knew who to pick up and all that kind of stuff. Or the Pouncey to Castro lines had remarkable consistency, continuity, durability. I mean, they uncanny, and that goes a long way. Now, I'm not fighting you. I think your point's a really strong one. But I also... and this would be applied to the Becton question or resigning Siamalu or another player I really, really like that's never healthy is Vera Tucker from the Jets. I mean, you're going to get him – someone's going to get him at a less than what his value is when he's on the field because he's never on the field. But because you have Spencer Anderson, maybe I would – durability might not be as worrisome for me because I know he can at least play. My guy behind them – your
break glass in case of emergency is
better
fine.
than that.
It's better. It's much better than that.
Yeah.
That's a great point too. And so that's all part of the conversation.
You don't want people winning out of the lineup, but at least like if you told me I'm getting 12 games out of Vera Tucker, I'm like,
I might sign up for that.
I might sign up for that.
If the price is right.
The price is right at the discount.
If you're going to get Becton for 12 or 13 games and the price is right.
Yeah. I'm getting them for 1.
No chance. Right. If I'm getting them for 3 or 4 or 5, I'll pass. But yeah, obviously a lot to keep an eye on and continue to discuss in that realm. So let's do that. I think that's kind of there's some other, the Giants released Bobby Okereke.
Yeah.
Some other kind of smaller moves.
There'll be a lot of little things and rumors and
yes.
Yeah. Eagles want a lot for A.J. Brown and blah, blah, blah. I don't know how true all that stuff is.
Yes. But with that, let's take our first break here today. We've gotten a lot of tweets. We've had a lot of conversation. Let's kind of reset a free agency primer where the Steelers are at with what we know now. We've gathered more information, obviously, in the last week, so we have a better picture of what this 2026 draft class looks like. Let's get into imports and exports for the Steelers, who could be on the way out, who you would try and keep. when we return here on the other side. Little Steelers free agency primer 2.0 as we get closer and closer to that free agency window opening. Just getting started today. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Rolling along here on The Drive on this Wednesday. A week from today, free agency will officially open. 5 days from today, that legal tampering period, they now call it the negotiating period.
I know, you're not supposed to call it. They changed the name. Yeah.
That kind of reminds me, though, of
It was a weird name to begin with.
It was.
Yeah.
It's a little
legally tampering.
Legally tampering.
Right.
It's a little bit of an oxymoron there.
A little bit,
certainly,
right.
Certainly. But that kind of reminds me of when college football went from 1A and 1AA to FBS and FCS. It's like, everybody.
What's the difference?
It took 15 years before people started actually saying FBS and FCS.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to be...
Americans couldn't figure out the metric system. I mean, they still call it Heinz Field. I mean, like, nothing ever changes.
What is a kilometer?
Right.
Matt, with that, a little free agency conversation. A lot of this we have been hashing out over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
There's new information available. We certainly know more about the draft class now than we have at any point after spending the week in Indianapolis at the Combine. So let's roll through this. Let's talk about the Steelers free agents, who we want to keep at the right price, who we're fine with letting them walk. Do we even need to have the Aaron Rodgers conversation?
I don't think we've talked it to death.
Because we've talked it to death, and nothing has changed in that regard, and we all kind of think it's a foregone conclusion, and until there's new news...
I mean, they've even addressed it. We've talked to Aaron. He knows how he feels about it. They've talked to us. But I mean, I don't think that's worth bringing up.
I agree. So let's go right back to the well of where we just were. Isaac Seumalo.
Yeah.
Last year was, making about $8 million a year, it looks like. Played almost 75% of the snaps for the Steelers, 74.6% of the snaps.
It's not like he's in and out of games. When he plays, he plays.
Yes.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yes. At $8 million, 33 years old. Is it keep him? Is it keep him at the right price? Is it take a look at your options?
We did talk about it a lot. I do think having a big brother veteran in the room, and I would like to draft 2 offensive linemen of some sort as well, so you're only going to get younger. And they'll definitely draft at least 1, whether they agree with me or not on 2. I'm sure they're going to draft an offensive lineman. I do think that a veteran is very useful, and I don't know these dudes personally, but by all account, he seems like a smart, trustworthy, upstanding leader type guy, and you saw how they all flocked to him. And I still think he's playing pretty well. Whenever I bring up that they should re-sign Seumalo, I get so many responses that Rankins threw him around. I'm like, yeah, the Texans kind of do that to everybody, and it was just not his best play.
And, Randy Moss turned Darrelle Revis inside and out a couple times.
Yeah, right. It doesn't mean he's not a starting left guard.
Troy Polamalu had bad games.
Yeah, and it was a bad game by more than just him, too. Is some of those plays concerning? Yeah, but I still think he's quite good. I just wonder, because there's such an O-line shortage, are there 4 or 5 teams that have so much money that are like, we'll give you 13? You're worth 8 or 9. Steelers
Even
might
if you
be
play 75% of the snaps for us, great.
Yeah,
just
right.
to have you in that room.
Because you're good when you're out there. I would be actively trying to pursue it, though, at a similar 1-year, 10 at most type of situation. I'd have a hard time probably going 2 years considering his injury history.
Agreed.
But somebody might. If I'm him, I'm probably going to say, I'll let you know 2 days into free agency. I don't think I'm signing that now if I'm him.
And make no mistake about it, despite some of the injury concerns and the age, he will have some offers.
Yeah. If you're like the Raiders, I got a first overall dude I'm putting in here, and I need leadership on my line, and I got more money than I can spend.
I'm going to go pay for Linderbaum and Seumalo.
Right.
And even if they're slightly overpaid, we're still going to have plenty of cap space.
We have a legit line then, right.
By the time their contracts will be off the books by the time we have to pay Mendoza.
Oh, yeah.
A few years down the line.
Right.
Yeah.
I got to spend it somewhere.
Kyle Duggar.
I would lump all those safeties together.
I was going to say, would you include Killebrew with all of them? Or
no.
He's separate because of the special teams factor. But
I would say
let's say Duggar, let's say Clark, and Jabril Peppers.
Because I think they're all more Strongs than Freeze.
Agreed.
Duggar's my favorite of the group. Peppers is too, but they never agreed with me, so I don't know what I'm missing on Peppers. They like Clark more than Peppers. They like Clark more than I like Clark.
Jabril Peppers played just 8.6% of the snaps for the Steelers.
Yeah, I guess that adds up. And maybe he's shot and I just don't know it, and I'm going off what he used to be. None of them would be priorities. One of them I'd like to bring back as Elliott's pure backup, and that's it.
That's my ideal situation for Duggar, I think.
Yeah, and Duggar would be my favorite of the group. Maybe he's a little pricier than the others. Clark's got to be the oldest.
Clark and Peppers are both 31. Duggar is 30, so they're not terribly far
closer
off.
together than I thought. Okay.
Yes, that's the safeties in the conversation there.
Because just in the safety world, I want to sign a starting free, and I don't know how strong they're going to be on free versus strong. I mean but I want to sign a starter, and I definitely want to draft one in a deeper safety class. So this dude, whoever of those three you pick, or someone else at kind of a cheap veteran minimum type deal, is probably your fourth most valuable safety. So what's that really worth? He better be great on teams, which I don't know if any of those guys are great on teams.
It's fair point there, especially with considering Miles Killebrew.
Mm-hmm.
He's 33 years old. He was such a huge part, we all know, of the special teams equation in Pittsburgh, but it's a new coaching staff. Danny Smith is no longer here. Does the new staff still value him in that way? He is 33, so he's getting a little bit longer in the tooth.
33 coming off a big injury makes me say league minimum or bust type thing.
I'm with you on that.
As good as he was on it, Skoronek's great. You'll find others.
Well, so then let's kind of stay there then. How does Connor Hayward factor in this equation for you? 27 years old, played a little under 8.7% of the snaps for the Steelers last year. But we know the tight end value has now shrunk with Mike McCarthy and exiting Arthur Smith. But he still presents special teams value and everything if they want to continue to do tush-push type stuff that he could offer in that realm too.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can find somebody else. I mean, if he left and got a decent offer, you could I bet you draft somebody that can do that. But it's not nothing. I also think it's valuable that he's always active on game day because of special team stuff, that if two running backs get hurt, he can get you out of the game. Or, I think you'll only keep 3 tight ends. That's the usual. Steelers keeping 4 is unusual because they use so many. And 2 of those spots are taken. It is a good tight end draft, but I don't feel the need to have to go in that well. I think I would be pretty strong to bring him back. Again, I mean, he's not going to make a lot of money.
He's a Price is Right guy.
Yeah.
I think the price will be right. I would think he probably wants to stay here and play with his brother, and
I would say it's not how you should do business, but it's good for goodwill too. Like Cam Hayward carries some weight in that room,
just a little bit.
yeah,
literally and figuratively.
Right. If it can make everyone a little happier, cool. That's better than signing some tight end we never heard of.
Yeah, and I know it's a brand new regime, brand new staff, brand new special teams coordinator, but I think you still want some guys that speak the language.
Agreed.
Of like we've talked about with keeping a couple of those coaches on staff. Just when you did this in the past, what was the rationale behind it? What was the logic? Why did you think this would work? Why did this work? Why didn't this work? And he's only 27 years old. He's kind of right in the middle of that. And maybe even about to hit his absolute prime as an athlete and a football player. If the price is right, I would definitely have him back.
On a typical game day, he does stuff. And if it's only 5 snaps on off.
If he's your break glass in case of emergency tight end, I think you can do much worse in that department too.
I agree.
Let's talk about some of these wide receivers here, Matt. Adam Thielen, Scotty Miller, Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Did Thielen retire, or is there?
That's actually a good point. He did. You're right. So take him out of the equation. You're right. He did that actually just a few days after the season ended. So Thielen is out of the equation. So Scotty Miller, MVS, Calvin Austin III. And those are the 3. Yes, without Adam Thielen.
Austin will get a legit contract from somebody.
Did you see his news today?
No.
He is now part of the Drew Rosenhaus agency.
Oh, he switched agencies.
So he switched to Big Drew right before free agency. That makes me think that there's some.
There must be interest.
They think there's going to be some irons in the fire there.
There will be, because the free agent crop isn't great. I'm telling all those guys, though, to go fish, basically. Like we got bigger. If you're still around in a month or two, especially like a Miller, like Miller has some of those like Hayward qualities. Like if your holder gets hurt, he comes in. If, like he does a lot of little things that people don't think about on smaller roster than you think on game day. But like I'm calling him like after the draft, And I know Rodgers likes Valdez-Scantling, but I've seen enough of that. At every stop he's been, not interested. Austin, would be a fallback plan. I would look like sign somebody better, draft somebody better. If I can't and you're still out there, great, but I bet you won't still be out there. Somebody will sign you to be their third.
I was going to say, he'd be one of those guys that if it's like the third wave of free agency and the price is right, bring him back, absolutely. You can, if he's
not bad.
Yeah, if he's your fourth or your fifth, he's probably one of the better fourth or fifths in the NFL. And we know
punt returner.
McCarthy's kept 7 or 8 on the roster at times in the past, and the special teams element. But I think someone's going to give him some coin because he could fit. He could be a right piece of the puzzle if you have the other body types in your wide receiver room.
Like this sounds weird, but like if you're the Bengals.
I was just going to say Cincinnati, man.
One of these teams have a good pairing, and I need you just to run fast and exploit single coverage, and all right,
Cowboys.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to be the team that has the money to do it, but
just in terms of how you would,
if you're bringing him in as your clear number 3, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't want to count on him to the point the Steelers did.
I'm with you on that. Let's go to interior defensive linemen here. Matt, 3 to discuss: Daniel Aquale, Dean Lowry, and Jacob Slade. I don't think Jacob Slade is going to be back in the equation.
No, and I don't even know anything about him.
Aquale and Dean Lowry.
What kind of trouble did Aquale get in? Because he got injured and then he got suspended on top of that, I think, for PEDs.
I was going to say, I think it was something substance-wise.
Okay, I was saying I didn't think it was, not that that's great, but it wasn't, beating up a woman or something terrible.
Domestic violence or something like that.
I don't know that he's a bad guy, necessarily. I mean, did what he do. But I thought he played pretty well. And I definitely want nose-ish guys, and I think he's definitely that.
Talk about that a lot.
I would probably offer him a deal where he's not even guaranteed to make the team, which is probably the type of deal he was on before. And now he's a little less valuable coming off a suspension, too. I mean, his stock didn't go up, even if his tape was decent. I'd love to take him to camp with like 7 or 8 other D linemen all fighting for 7 spots, and have one extra type of situation. Because the other thing that works in his favor, at least in this equation for me, is there aren't many or any veteran D linemen I want to add, and they're going to be overpriced. And the draft looks okay, but not great. I just don't know where the D linemen are going to come from.
That's where when you start to piece the puzzle together, and here's what we want to commit and what we need from free agency, and here's what we can wait till the end of April and, kind of play our hand in the draft. Defensive line feels like
I think it dried up pretty quick.
There's not an easy answer.
Yeah.
Like you and I have done a little bit of this, and we'll continue to do this. If you look at the corners and the safeties available upcoming here in free agency, there's a lot to like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys,
stuff to pick,
26, 27, 28 years old, second contract, not going to break the bank, but quality NFL starters with experience.
You'll probably pay them 10% more than they're worth, but that's free agency.
But that's free agency. Yeah. There are a few corners and a few safeties, a handful of secondary guys that fit that description. So you might be more willing to, we're going to go there and knock some of that out in free agency, but if it doesn't work out, we still really like the crop in the draft. It might be the opposite for defensive line.
It might be.
Like we're going to have to really work to identify the right piece or two to add here because there's not a ton of options.
Yeah, right. And I don't know if any of them are difference-making options, Lowry has value to me. They've always had that dude. It was like Wormley. That's just like an inning eater, that's been around the league for a little bit. Now, I don't know the extent of his injuries. He can't be young. Is he 32, something like that?
He is 32.
Okay, total guess. Coming off an injury, he'd cost nothing. I mean, it'd be the same contract you offered him.
He made 2.5 last year.
Okay. I wouldn't mind having him at camp and with very little guaranteed money, and if he makes the team, great. I think he would have made the team and been
agree.
active on game day ahead of like
if he was healthy.
If he would have made ahead of like Lee or Loudermilk, So there's not inning eaters on the D line is not a terrible thing.
No, it's not.
I mean, that's your fifth guy. I mean, I don't want him starting ever.
But you need some people to eat some innings. It was great that Cam Hayward was an all-pro and played the most snaps of any true defensive lineman in the NFL last year. But
I hope that's not the plan again.
I hope that's not the plan again.
Yeah,
it's like it looks like we would say with Boswell all the time. It's great that he's team MVP, but I hope that's not going to continue. I don't want my kicker.
Right.
It's a testament to him, but I don't want my kicker to be that guy. I don't want a 38-year-old to be the one who's leading the league in snaps.
No.
Unless maybe it's a 38-year-old quarterback at his position. Matt, a few more here. We'll break this up. We'll have to do some of this.
Yeah, the Gainwell conversation is going to be a long one.
That's why I was going to say. So let's have two more here before we go to break. Calvin Anderson, 30 years old.
They just released him, right? Or they said they were about to.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that too because I don't think he's a restricted free agent, but there's something with his.
So he signed a 2-year deal.
Is it like one of those void year type things?
So he would have been back under contract, and I think just this past week they said they're cutting him. So
they did. You're right. Terminated.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So he is.
I think
he is out of the equation.
Cap casualty. They saved $2 million on him. Not that he was a huge contract, but they haven't done that with Jonnu or Harrison. But it's the same thing. So they signed him to a 2-year deal, which I thought was odd at the time. But I'm like, I guess they like him better than I do, and tackles don't grow on trees.
If it doesn't work out, it doesn't kill you.
Yeah. And didn't work out. So, no.
Finally here, before we take a break, Cole Holcomb, 30 years old, played 17% of the snaps last year.
I don't think anyone's going to pursue him as a starter. So I don't think in 2 weeks he'll still be a free agent.
Okay.
So maybe let's talk about it in 2 weeks. I don't think you're looking to add a linebacker in free agency.
No.
You wouldn't mind drafting one.
You wouldn't mind drafting one on day 3 or maybe in the 4th round or something because it does feel like a deep group.
Yeah.
That's what all the draft nicks, pretty consensus, deep off-ball linebacker group, a lot of speed. Wouldn't hate adding one of those guys. But I also, if Cole Holcomb's back, wouldn't be against that either. I think when he's been healthy and available, he's been an adder to that room. Not a superstar, but he's been a plus player.
I mean, I'd have no problem with Wilson, Queen, Holcomb, Bruner, and a 3rd-round pick being my final 5 guys at that position.
I think that'd be a good blend.
It's fine, yeah.
Bruner's your special team ace.
Yeah.
Maybe your rookie.
I don't want to count on that rookie to be a backup immediately, and we'll see,
Let's take a break here. We'll close this. We'll continue this kind of free agency, imports, exports.
I don't think Harrison will be back. So you're going to detract you're taking away from that room, so I think you don't want to take too much away from that room.
A few more names to discuss here as we continue to kind of set the stage for Steelers free agency. We'll put a bow on this conversation to close down the first hour. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Free agency, the topic du jour across the NFL, certainly here on Steelers Nation Radio, as we're getting closer and closer to next week and kind of setting the stage ahead of time here. Matt, you mentioned it. I think Aaron Rodgers obviously is the biggest domino here, probably followed pretty closely by Isaac Seumalo. But also at the forefront of this conversation,
I think Pierre's important too, just because he's a starting corner.
We're gonna get to him here too. But team MVP, Kenneth Gainwell.
I'm torn. So if you think Rodgers is going to be the quarterback, and I don't say this because just give Aaron everybody he wants and he should be part of, partial GM for you. But obviously he has an affinity for Gainwell, which I understand, and he pumped him up. But if Rodgers is going to be your quarterback, he's going to throw to backs in the flat a lot. So I need capable receivers. I need another one in addition to Warren because that's not going away if Rodgers is your quarterback. I mean, the ball's going to come out often to running backs. And Gainwell's really good at that. And Gainwell was better at everything that I expected him to be. But he's not going to be cheap. I mean, he's not going to be as cheap as he was this past year, by not even close. And I would love – so first off, I think they have to sign a veteran running back, more than we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I didn't originally, but I can't go into the season with Warren, Caleb, and a 4th-round pick.
Agreed with you on that.
It's just,
If
Warren gets hurt, all
back.
of a sudden, you might have nothing.
Yes.
I can't have nothing. So, I could go in with James Conner or, it doesn't have to be.
Sure.
I'm not asking for
You're not
Kenneth
saying
Walker.
Kenneth Walker,
Right,
yeah.
right. But, somebody that's been around the block that knows how to pass block. And
You want me to give you some of the names that would be available?
there's a handful, like Tyler Algier is going to make too much money.
Travis Etienne going to make too much money.
Yeah. And the
about-
other thing is, too, before you bring up names, the one thing I would mention is it's not a deal breaker, but I like the Warren backfield alignment better if he's not the biggest guy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And because
I want a hammer.
yeah,
I want some thunder for that lightning.
I kind of like the Najee mold. I'm not a big Najee believer, but Najee Warren mold more than the Warren Gainwell mold. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
You're kind of a small backfield then.
Agreed.
And they've never had a small backfield my whole life.
Yes.
And I think there's something to that.
And we've had that conversation a few times.
Yeah.
And you were hoping that Caleb Johnson was going to be that guy, but that did not end up happening.
I think him and Roman Wilson are some guys that you just can't count on for anything. Like
it's almost like a bonus if you get him. Great.
Yeah, right. And you might be good. And, okay, but I can't count on him to be even definitely a quality 3, like an active on game day guy, because he also is not a special teamer.
That's where I'm at. I actually did a segment this morning with our friends Tom Offerman and Chris Adamski on the Steelers Blitz, and they asked me about Gainwell, and I was like, guys, I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer.
I know, it's a tough one.
Because if he's back, I don't hate it. He was the
They
team.
would use him, and
they would use him.
plays.
Him and Aaron Rodgers clearly have chemistry.
Yeah.
If Jalen Warren were to go down for a couple weeks, you trust in him.
Yeah.
But if he walks and then you go out and you kind of find that piece that is more complementary to Jalen Warren, you have a more kind of prototypical running back room.
Maybe it is an Algier or somebody like that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
Yeah.
As long as it's Kenny G or an adequate replacement, I don't think there's a wrong answer.
Because I think if you signed Gainwell today, then you're done at free agency, I assume, at running back. But I'm still probably drafting somebody bigger than Warren in the 5th round.
Yes, definitely.
Right? Yeah. Somebody that's got some girth to him,
Let me just give you some of these names, and you can tell me yay or nay, and if you want to explain yourself, go for it. If not, we'll just roll along. Najee Harris is a free agent.
No.
Let's see. Austin Eckler.
I don't even know if he'll play.
Antonio Gibson.
No.
Travis Etienne. Too expensive.
I think he's going to be not what you're looking for price-wise.
Rico Dowdle, not the type, not the right body type.
But he did play with McCarthy in Dallas and had his overlap there.
That is true.
Don't just brush him away because
that is true.
And I
Didn't
never
think
thought
about
of that until a couple hours ago because I did a Locked On Dynasty show and we were just talking about running back. We were having this conversation. J.K. Dobbins, Algier. That's why these guys are fresh in my mind.
J.K. Dobbins I was going to bring him up next.
And the co-host was like, "Don't forget that Rico played with, and they did some good things. They'd be dirt cheap. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst guy having out there." I love J.K. Dobbins, but it's the Becton conversation. It's not, if he gets hurt, it's when.
When he gets hurt.
But when he's out there, he's a top 20 back.
He'd be exactly what you were looking for if he was the picture of health.
Yeah.
He's 27 years old. He's got the right body type.
But he's also cheap as can be. And if he lasts till Halloween and then he goes out for the year, you probably got the contract out of him, especially if Caleb
or other running backs starts to figure it out.
Right.
A.J. Dillon.
I think he's shot.
Brian Robinson.
A little too monotone, but I mean, you can one or two of those names I would consider like late after the draft. 2 weeks before camp opens, he's still out there.
Yeah,
that type of contract.
Michael Carter. Algier, that's really about it.
This is sort of like the D tackle conversation because it's never this conversation for running backs, but it's not a very wealthy group, including draft. You're not going to get love.
You're not going to get love.
Right.
It's kind of like similar to the Mendoza and quarterback conversation.
Yeah, right.
Unless you're getting that one guy in the draft, it's not a great offseason to need one.
Like last year, you could be like, well, I'll just dip my toe in the draft water or whatever, and I'd probably get Tootin in the 4th round or whatever. Right.
Harvey or one of those guys. Yeah. Matt, finally, cornerbacks, and it's a two-man conversation.
Yeah.
30-year-old James Pierre, 27-year-old Asante Samuel Jr.
So I think there's a couple negatives with both. Not to start, glass half empty. Samuel's durability / injury history, and Samuel's size / not unwillingness, but he's not much of a run defender. And I think some of that was because he was playing injured and stuff with the Chargers. Like, I don't think he's unwilling. He's just not a big body to get Derrick Henry on the ground coming off the edge. Or, the Bills that ran off tackle 1,000 times would probably run at him over and over and over. Pierre's problems are age. He just hit 30 or is about to hit 30, which is kind of a magic number for corners. And one-year wonders at corner are often one-year wonders. You know what I mean? Like, it took him that long to figure it out, but he was really good. So I think I would be talking to Pierre right now because I want to have a starting corner definitely before the draft. I think you have to.
Agreed.
And I don't know that Samuel I'd say is a starting corner. Pierre I'm going to say is a starting corner. And then maybe a third-round pick at corner.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't think bringing both back is horrific. I kind of thought that at the beginning. I'm like, bring them both back and 2 dogs, 1 bone, whatever that is, and, fallback
Would
plan.
you rather do that than go shopping in free agency for some of these 27, 28-year-olds that we've talked about?
Some of them are appealing.
Some of them are very appealing.
Devontae Taylor.
Yep.
Guys like that that aren't super crazy expensive. Guess it depends. I mean, I would definitely be having conversations with Pierre now.
Yeah.
What
do you want? How many years? What's the money? What's the guaranteed money?
If you're close, I might be like, I'll settle for that and then draft one.
Keep the bird in the hand.
Yeah, because Eccles could also play outside, and you don't want to do that. Ramsey could also play outside. You don't want to do that. So your corner room would be like Pierre, Eccles, Ramsey, Porter, mid-round pick.
Mid-round pick.
It's good, but there's room for error there.
There is.
I mean, what if Pierre looks like a bad signing and Ramsey's a step slow, and all of a sudden you're like, that third rounder's not ready. It's not you're not out of the woods.
No, you're not, and that's one of those position groups that you don't want to have.
Porter gets hurt.
I was thinking. That you said it. He did miss 2 or 3 games last year. Yeah. It's the National Football League. Guys get hurt. That to me is one of the biggest things to keep an eye on at the start of free agency. What they do with running back, what they do with cornerback, I think are really going to kind of tip hands to what the plans are in the draft.
And they might be early decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
They might be first week stuff, first couple days.
We could go on air Monday at 4 o'clock and Adam Schefter across the timeline, James Pierre and the Steelers have agreed to a 2-year, $12 million or whatever type contract. That wouldn't surprise me.
Of all their UFAs to be, I thought he was the one that was most likely to get signed before free agency even opened. Because he's also one of those guys that hasn't made much money. I mean, he's 30 years old, but by NFL standards...
6 years, he's made about $6 million in the league.
Yeah, right.
So by NFL standards, that's...
He's made nothing, right. Yeah. Just be pretty... Mrs. Pierre or whoever his significant other is would probably be like, I'll take this $6 million signing bonus.
Right now.
Yeah, right, or
Put
whatever
that
it
in
is.
the bank account tomorrow. When can the direct deposit hit?
Right.
Matt, I did want to make sure, speaking of, to kind of wrap up this conversation, Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show today. And a lot of, oh my goodness, could this be it? Could we be getting an announcement? Aaron Rodgers said, anyone on here expecting me to make some big decision, just turn it off right now. End quote.
He's just stopping by for a visit with his buddy.
He praised Mike McCarthy, but he said there's no he said, I've talked to Mike, I've talked to Omar, there's no deadline, there's no contract offer, nothing that I have to debate between. I'm a free agent. End quote. So
no news is good news, I guess.
I guess no news is good news, but
right.
I just have a feeling I've seen this fish before.
Yes.
I have a feeling Aaron Rodgers is going to be in September when the Steelers open the season, QB1 under center.
I'm kind of operating under that assumption.
I am too,
point,
but man, I hope it doesn't take till May or June like it did last year.
That could complicate things. I think you need to have that answer before that.
You certainly do.
Yeah.
For free agency purposes and planning purposes, and then I think just for everybody's sanity too. There's always the human element
that part
of this.
Of it, right.
I like reruns, Matt, when it's a long ways out. Like 7 years after it came out, I rewatched Game of Thrones. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I've rewatched Breaking Bad before. It's awesome.
Sure, it's great.
I need to rewatch The Sopranos and The Wire and things like that. Years down the line. I don't, finish Game of Thrones and then a few months later go, I want to do this again. Let's do this again. I don't want this rerun all over once again.
No, I've been down that road.
I am optimistic that at some point in March we're going to get an answer because I don't think anybody wants to go down that road, but who knows? Until we get an answer, I don't even want to say we'll continue to speculate because I don't even want to do that.
No.
We're just going to wait and see, and we'll
So he didn't say anything really of note. Steelers relevant.
Praise Mike McCarthy, talked about how he loved being in Pittsburgh for this year, and it was a great group of guys, and mentioned a bunch of the players by name and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
so nothing negative.
Nothing negative, but no big decision today from Aaron Rodgers like some had hoped for, maybe even speculated with him making his first Pat McAfee show appearance, I think since all the way back in training camp out in Latrobe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Hour in the books, another hour to go. Hour number 2. Our guy, Dane Brugler, put out his first post-combine mock draft.
I think it's interesting.
We'll take a look at that. And now that there's been some trades, there's been some movement, there's been some extensions, all these things, we got to kind of refresh on cut candidates for the teams across the NFL as we approach free agency and all these organizations having to get their books right ahead of the fiscal new year. That and more in hour number 2. Uhler, Williamson, it's The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Well, that's good. Us too. Hour number 2 of The Drive here on this Wednesday. I guess this marks the halfway point of the show and the halfway point of the week here.
Yeah, I guess
Matt
so.
Williamson, and I got some breaking news for you. No, it's not anything Aaron Rodgers or Steelers or related, but NFL fans can now register for their free entry to the 2026 NFL Draft, of course, on the North Shore of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 2 ways to do so. Download the NFL One Pass app or visit NFL.com/draft access. That is how you can get your free tickets. It's free, but you got to register for the 2026 NFL Draft here in Pittsburgh.
I'm sure we'll get a lot more details about it, and you probably don't know the answer to this, but I wonder how many tickets are even for sale for that event. And I mean, like,
it's a great question.
How much does the concert venue hold? I have no idea.
I know that recently, in the last few years, there was an NFL Draft in Cleveland, and there was an NFL Draft in Detroit.
Yeah.
So similar kind of metropolitan populations, and they estimated there were between 500,000 and 700,000.
That sounds right.
The 3 days combined.
Do they all buy a ticket, or do they just show up?
I think again, it's almost kind of like Steelers training camp, where it's free, but you have to register for your ticket online ahead of time.
Gotcha.
So you need a ticket, but the ticket is free. I think that's just so they can verify how many people were there, what type of crowds to expect.
People are going to go through security, and it's not just whoever shows up at the back.
Yes. Although I'm sure with it being downtown on the North Shore, everything going on Point State Park, I'm sure there will be some areas that are kind of quote-unquote unofficial areas where you can still view stuff from.
I would imagine, yeah. Probably can see from Mount Washington to some degree. I don't know.
That would be a cool. Now you're talking. That would be a cool view. But yes, so now open for registration if you want to go, and make sure you lock down your free tickets for any one of those 3 days that are going to be absolutely bonkers. About 6-7 weeks from now here,
coming quick
in Pittsburgh. It sure is. But before that, of course, we have free agency. We spent some time going over that, and that picture will become much clearer here in the coming week. But Matt, our guy Dane Brugler, of course, of The Athletic, a guest of ours every year on Radio Row.
He was great yet again this year.
One of our favorite people to talk NFL draft with. He has put out his post-combine pre-free agency mock draft on The Athletic.
And he's super dialed in, and
super dialed in, and I think this is always worth going over.
Yeah, it is.
Shocker, but he has Fernando Mendoza going number 1 to the Raiders. He says it's surprising how little buzz there was around this in Indianapolis because it seems like a foregone conclusion. They're going to draft them unless somebody makes them a stupid offer that they can't refuse. He's going to be a Raider.
That's the only case, yeah.
Number 2, Arvell Reese out of Ohio State, continuing to be pretty chalky there at number 2. Not completely, but pretty close. Impressive athletic testing at the combine, speed, explosion, violence, and the opportunity to, I think, still add some to that frame. He's got him going second to the Jets.
I mean, maybe they'd prefer Bailey, but to me, I'm taking Reese all day long there. Right. And when I'm going to do a mock probably the next day or two. I think it's due Monday for Steelers.com.
Steelers.com.
But I would definitely put Reese at 2.
Number 3, Francis Mauigoa, offensive tackle from the U, goes to the Cardinals.
That's where I had him go in my first mock.
He could play right tackle there. So
that's the thing. I think they don't need the left, So I think or he could bump into guard. There's spots for him. I think that makes all the sense in the world. I'm just wondering would I consider like Styles or Love or Downs or somebody like that.
Maybe best player.
Yeah.
I don't hate that for the Cardinals because he can clearly play right tackle there. If that doesn't work out, they can always bump him into guard.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a little underwhelming for a 3rd overall.
It
pick.
is, but that's just how this draft is.
But that's exactly right.
If Reese was there, I'd probably just take him, even if it's not a huge need, and figure out somewhere in the front 7 to play him.
Number 4, Tennessee Titans, Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame.
I thought I was going to be unique and put him there, and then I saw this today. So probably like you didn't come up with it, Williamson, because I think Pollard could be a cap casualty, even though they don't need the money. But what would be Cam Ward's best friend?
Really good running back.
Yeah, that catches the ball really well. If your whole goal is to make Ward a success,
all you need is Love.
I think Love would go further than like Tate in terms. If you ask Ward, who would you rather have? Not that they won't have any, because they'll add some receiver in free agency too.
Sure, and maybe one in the 2nd round or something like that. But Dane's logic is basically that Tennessee has a lot of money to spend in free agency.
Yes.
Their roster and their needs will look a little more stable by the time we get to the end of April. And Robert Saleh just has spent so much time watching what Christian McCaffrey meant to that Niners offense.
I didn't think of that connection.
And might see the same potential in Jeremiah Love.
I think that's sound logic by Dane, yeah.
Number 5, the New York Giants, Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State. Man, that would start
just released Okereke.
Yeah, that would start to make that.
I'm cool with that.
That would start to make that defense look pretty good on paper.
Real good, yeah.
Number 6, the Cleveland Browns.
I think like Harbaugh had Ray Lewis, and
Yeah. And like, again, they've got the defensive line. They've got some pieces in that front there. He would kind of be the final cherry on top. 6, the Cleveland Browns, Spencer Fanu, offensive lineman out of Utah.
Been some talk that maybe he's not a tackle just because of short arms, but he's something, and they need everything, so that's fine with me. His movement stuff was great.
Dane said he easily had the best workouts of any offensive lineman this year.
That's probably true.
And yeah, there's some concern about the shorter arms, but you can find a spot for him regardless.
I think they even had him snap the ball, which doesn't mean he's going to be a center, but sometimes they'll ask those guys to do center stuff at the combine. 32.25 inches, or 32.125 inches, pardon me, is not Will Campbell small, but it's a little bit shorter than you would like. Yeah.
Number 7, the Washington Commanders, David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Yeah, they
definitely need it.
They need youth on that defense.
They definitely need it, yeah.
The Saints.
I wonder if they would take Love. I mentioned I did a Locked On Dynasty, just running back landing spots. I think Washington's a really good landing spot for a running back.
I agree. I just feel like
the defense is so bad.
The defense is bad and it's old.
Yep.
If you can get someone like David Bailey, if you can get someone like a Sonny Styles falls there, I think that's
Downs. Just best need available. I've kind of always pigeonholed there.
Number 8, the New Orleans Saints, Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Pair him with another Buckeye and Chris Olave. Give Tyler Shuck another weapon to really see if he's your guy for the future.
Could be a pretty decent offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the
led by
line's
Kellen
in
Moore.
place. It's a good coach, too, for that.
Number 9, the Kansas City Chiefs, Reuben Bain Jr., edge rusher out of Miami.
So I'm sure Dane does not have the trade in tow.
Does not.
Yeah, I mean, I assume the Rams have the second of the two
because this came out last night, I think, right?
I definitely saw this morning before I saw the trade.
Yes, he still has the Rams with pick 29. Yes.
Okay. Not that it would matter with this pick. You still take, I mean.
I'd be tempted to take Downs here if I were them.
I would take Downs over Bain. I don't know if it's true because I hate to say these things, but there was several headlines that there might be some kind of medical thing with Downs. And I don't know the details on that.
Interesting. Well, Downs ends up going 10 to the Cincinnati Bengals.
I think that's as low as he could fall.
Same.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Cincinnati and he's still there, that's a jog to the podium, run to the podium, get this done.
Would take that all day long.
Might be the best player in the draft. He's the local guy from Ohio State, which always, gives you some bounce amongst the fan base. Number 11, third offensive tackle, offensive lineman off the board, Monroe Feeling out of Georgia. This is maybe the highest I've seen him mocked so far.
Yeah, and I think this is more like it than end of first round stuff we saw just a couple weeks ago.
Man, he moves so well.
What team was that?
The Dolphins at 11.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's
They
nothing
need-
whatever
need
they go in.
Best player available there, pick 11.
Might as well take a tackle.
Number 11, Dallas Cowboys, Mansour Delane, corner, LSU, first corner off the board.
Yeah, I would assume that both their first-round picks should be on defense. There's 2 or 3 teams like that. The Bengals, the Commanders, Dallas.
Just load up on defense.
One side's really good and one side's really bad.
13, the pick that the Rams still have even after the trade with the Chiefs, selecting Avion Terrell, corner out of Clemson.
Which now they wouldn't.
Which now they wouldn't because they have Trent McDuffie.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That changes that one up.
I wonder, I thought about this too. I'm like, wonder what McVay will do with 13. Now, knowing him, he could trade it for another future first or something. I mean, he could move down.
Sure.
And, but would you consider like wide receiver 2 here?
Maybe.
I mean, it's like I always kind of thought it'd be a tackle. Their tackle situation's not great.
But if 3 are off the board already.
Yeah, and you take wide receiver 2, match with Adams and Nakua, and I think you only get one more year out of Adams.
Sure.
It's like, he likes his toys. Yeah,
They could make that work.
That could be the best offense in the league.
It might have been last year, and you could certainly add to it. 14, Baltimore Ravens. They take Vega, Ione, guard
I
out
can see
of
that
Penn
getting
State.
real chalky. I don't think Linderbaum's coming back,
Especially
and both their guards are back.
Especially if they lose Linderbaum.
Yeah. I mean, the interior line was bad last year with Linderbaum.
And Baltimore values the interior of that offensive line, I think, a little bit more than most. 15, the Tampa Bay.
He's worth that pick in this draft. Yeah.
I think so. He might be the best offensive lineman in this draft. 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Kenyon Sadiq, tight end freak out of Oregon.
Huh. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but Cade Otton is a free agent, as is Evans.
He's probably still, at this point, the BPA on the board at pick 15, Sadiq.
You could lose 2 prominent pass catchers off that Tampa offense. I wouldn't have thought of that one. That's another team I'd think defense, but that could make sense.
16, the New York Jets. This is their Sauce Gardner pick from the Colts. Select Malachi Lemon, wide receiver, USC. Makai Lemon. Sorry, I did it again there. Makai Lemon.
Seems like pretty good value in this draft. I mean,
16.
Some of these mocks I've seen him go like 6, 7. I'm like, I don't know if
6,
I
7.
can't see him going. That's a thing, huh?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You notice how the 2 younger producers in the room laughed at that one. Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got young kids. I apologize. If you get Arvell Reese and you get Makai Lemon, if you're the Jets, I think that's a good start.
That's a good start
for your rebuild.
And you get 3 first-rounders next year.
That is crazy.
I'll screw it up, but
they'll screw it up.
They still don't have a quarterback in this equation.
They'll package 2 of those first-rounders to move up and draft the wrong quarterback in 2027. Detroit Lions, pick 17, Caden Proctor, the big hog from Alabama.
That's who I gave him in my mock, too, just because a big physical play guard now and then go to left tackle.
That's what they were saying. Basically, slide next to Taylor Decker for a year and then
replace him.
Yeah, long-term building block. 18, Minnesota Vikings. Ooh, this would upset Matt Williamson. Dylan Theneman, safety out of Oregon.
Yeah, but I could see Flores loving him.
Harrison Smith's future in question.
Yeah, quarterback the defense for the next 10 years. Ask him to do 10 different things, and he can do them all well.
According to one of Dane's scouts on Theneman, quote, it's hard to find anything bad with him.
It is, right.
I agree.
He might not be A+ across the board, but there's no C+.
19, Carolina Panthers, Akeem Messidor, the other edge rusher from the U.
To who?
The Carolina Panthers at 19.
He'll be fine. I always think of him going to somebody that's knocking on the door of winning just because of his age.
Need you right now.
Yeah. So, side note on him, as you recall, he started at WVU.
I do recall.
Yes.
Big 12 freshman of the year, I believe.
And from what I understand, I didn't go back and fact check it, but they played him at nose a lot.
Yep.
They play that goofy 3-3-5, and he was
3-3-5 stack.
Which is not what he should be doing.
No.
I mean, he's an edge rusher all day long. But one of the reasons he's so old is he has a pretty checkered injury history.
Yes, he does.
And so it's not
his
just age.
first year at Miami, I think he barely played.
Yeah. So it's not just age, but it could also be medicals with him.
Number 20, Dallas Cowboys, Keldrick Falk, edge rusher out of Auburn.
I watched him recently, and I just don't get it, except for he's beautiful. He's beautiful.
He reminds me of so much of Shamir Stewart last year.
I hope the Bengals take him.
Both SEC guys, both when they walk on the podium at the combine, look the part.
Holy
My
smokes.
goodness.
Right.
But you turn on the tape and it just doesn't translate.
He's slow off the ball. I mean, I don't see the allure.
Same. That leads us to number 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Dane has this pick being, remember, Jordan Tyson's still there. Denzel Boston's still there. Concepcion's still there.
Yeah.
Dane says the Steelers select Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of national champion Indiana.
Wow. Been a lot of buzz even going into the combine. Could he sneak in the first round? Combine was good enough to not say he can't.
His tape is outstanding.
He does a lot of back shoulder Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson stuff. Like a wide receiver's wide receiver going over the middle that I think McAfee will value more than they did in the past. I don't hate it. I mean, I know that's not the exercise, but if it got to this point, I would like to trade down and get one of those 3 or 4. I wouldn't want to pick from the 4. You know what I mean? But I wonder if Cooper really is in that top 5. I turned in my wide receiver ranks for Steelers.com last night, and I considered putting him at 5, but the names you mentioned were my top 5, with Concepcion being 5. I didn't really get too crazy with it. But he probably would have been 6.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't even thought about him as a possibility at 21 for the Steelers. Right. I like his fit as a Steeler. 21 might be a little too rich.
I was saying that too.
22. The Los Angeles Chargers select Jamar McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee, one of the real wild cards in this draft.
Yeah, I'd be kind of shocked if he lasted this long.
I would be kind of shocked if he lasted this long. Remember, he did not play last year after he suffered an ACL injury in January during winter workouts. But in 2024, as a 19-year-old true sophomore, he was maybe the best corner in the SEC.
Yes.
So a lot of upside there, but just a lot of unknown. He hasn't played in a year, and he's still only 20 years old. He's so young.
This next sentence gets skewed a little bit because the Rams-Chiefs trade, because they had Terrell going to the Rams. But I'd be shocked if there's only 2 corners in the top 20. It's just always a position in need. Yeah, and I would think he's going to be one of them.
23, the Philadelphia Eagles select one of Matt's draft crushes, tackle out of Arizona State, Max Ianachor.
So perfect for them.
Oh!
Because a lot of old dudes.
Learn from Lane for a year and then take over.
Now, their O-line coach retired.
Yes, Stoutland did retire.
But I bet whoever his assistant was, they bumped him up, is going to keep with the same traditions, whether he gets as much out of them or not. But Dickerson, Johnson, all those guys probably aren't long for this, situation.
They're going to have some real turnover on that offensive line in Philadelphia in the next year or two, and that would be a good start for them to replace it. 24, Cleveland Browns. This is the pick from last year, the Jags pick to move up to get Travis Hunter. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State, back-to-back Sun Devils off
Another
the board
team
here.
that should go all offense.
Yeah.
O-line and pass catchers.
O-line, wide receiver in the first round would make a lot of sense for the Browns.
Yeah.
I would hate this because I really like Jordan Tyson. If he's healthy, I think he's the best wide receiver in this class. Mm-hmm. I just love his and I watch a lot of unfortunate for me, I watch a lot of Big 12 football, and his tape is unbelievable, but there are the medical concerns.
Yeah, I don't think he did anything at the draft. I know he didn't do any testing.
He did not.
Okay.
I think he's planning to do some stuff at their pro day in a few weeks, but
it's not a ringing endorsement.
It's not a ringing endorsement. 25, Chicago Bears, Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson.
Okay. I'm betting before long the Raiders will win this pick and Crosby's going to be a Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With some of the surprising, like the retirement of some of the issues with the offensive line that the Bears have.
It will be harder to pull off. Yeah. I fell for that yesterday. It was not an official deal on Max Crosby, by the way, but it was a verified Twitter guy that had like 5,000 or 6,000 followers. I'm like, this could be real.
We had some people that were tweeting us laughing, like, Matt, you got to keep Matt on his toes here.
Yeah.
Make sure it's a real reporter. But
Adam Schefter isn't real, right?
Tom Pelissero, T0M, Tom. 26, the Buffalo Bills. They dip into the wide receiver well. Not surprising. Denzel Boston out of Washington.
If I were them, I'd run to the podium for that.
That's the exact type of big-bodied guy that they need.
Yeah, absolutely.
27, the Niners take the other first-round graded Utah offensive lineman, Caleb Lomu.
He also could be guard and then take over for Williams.
That would be an ideal situation.
There's a lot of directions they can go to.
I think, a little undervalued in this group.
Yeah, I do too.
He's got a ton of experience at left tackle.
I'll say he's got the left tackle length
high level experience.
I don't think he lasts that long when it's all said and done.
I would be surprised. 28. This is 28. He has a mocked trade here. The Arizona Cardinals trade with the Houston Texans to select Ty Simpson, quarterback out of Alabama.
Huh, okay. I don't know how much he thought about this, but it sounds like the Cardinals are the leader in the clubhouse for Willis.
It does.
Which they would not make this move if that happened.
I don't think so.
No way. But I could see somebody. I bet he wanted to get Ty Simpson in the first round. I just kind of know how these mockers think, how Dane thinks. Like
someone's going to trade back.
I just want to make sure he gets
picks.
in the first round because people are telling me he's going to go in the first round. You know.
Yes. He kind of has an addendum in here. Note that this 29th pick was made before the Chiefs and the Rams
they added that.
Agreed to the Trent McDuffie trade package. But originally he had the Rams drafting KC Concepcion, wide receiver out of A&M. Would make a lot of sense for them to add a receiver, as we kind of talked about at pick 13. But who knows what that looks like for the Rams now.
Yeah. In this scenario, the Chiefs would have had Bain. They could definitely be looking at corner. They could use a real route runner receiver, too, like a Concepcion. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Broncos at 30. Third safety off the board in the first round. It'll be the first time that has happened since 2009, I believe. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo goes 30 to Mile High.
Okay. They're another team, though, I think a playmaker would make more sense, but they're pretty picked through. You're not going to take one of the other tight ends. You're not going to take another running back. You already had 6 or 7 receivers off the board. Six. Cooper. And
This would surprise me just because I think there might still be some offensive line help that they'd be interested in, but New England Patriots, 31st overall, take TJ Parker, the edge rusher out of Clemson.
Yeah, Chason's up. I mean, so the edge rusher isn't perfect at the moment. O-line makes more sense.
And then 32, the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks select Brandon Sissy, cornerback out of South Carolina.
Well, they could lose a lot in the secondary. Job is up, and the tall Reek is up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reek Woolen.
Yeah.
Matt, he also, so it was a first-round mock from Dane where he kind of explained all the picks and had a trade in there. And then he does a second-round mock where he just lists the guys without the full explanation or anything like that.
We don't need to go through every pick.
No, but the Steelers at 53, and I've seen this now a couple times from people I trust, the draftniks of the world, in the last 48 hours. A name that we briefly discussed yesterday, Tre'Dan Stukes, the corner safety out of Arizona.
Oh, okay. That would make some sense.
It would.
Yeah.
It would. I think there's a lot to like there. He has A.J. Housley, who you've talked about, the safety out of LSU, going 57 to Chicago. I'd have to think a little bit more about if both of those guys were on the board, who I'd want there. Stukes can do some corner and safety stuff. He can do some slot, nickel, and safety stuff, whereas Housley's more just a pure safety. But I'd be intrigued.
I would imagine Dane's looking at it. Ramsey stays at safety, and Stukes would be your big nickel.
Agreed.
Yeah,
yes.
That's probably the way he's interpreting the second.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Another one that stood out, another couple here that stood out to me in this second round mock through Steelers glasses. Caleb Banks, of course, the big horse who can move.
Yeah, he'd go in the first, huh?
45th to the Baltimore Ravens.
I'd hate that.
I would hate it if he lasted that long and wasn't a Steeler, and especially if he went to the Baltimore. If they were to get Vega in the first round and Banks in the second round on each side of the trenches, the Ravens, I would hate that.
I would hate that quite a bit.
Oh.
But I wonder if Dane's hearing something we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he only played
he have any defensive tackles in the first round? He had the Clemson dude.
He had the Peter Woods.
Yeah.
And then he's got a bunch here, like in the top 50.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, yeah.
He's got he has got Hunter coming off the board. He's got Christian Miller coming off the board. He's got McDonald coming off the board. So he does have a run on him here in the
first round.
In the 40s, just not first round.
I don't know. Banks looks like a first rounder to me.
And I know he only played 3 games last year, so maybe Dane's hearing that there's still some lingering medical stuff, but
didn't look like it at the Combine or at the Senior Bowl.
Buddy, the way he was moving, he
did everything.
Sure did everything. Has Malachi Fields going to the Patriots at 63. Another name that we've talked a lot about. Chris Bell, wide receiver from Louisville, to the Niners at 58. So some more wide receivers here in round 2. Chris Brazzell to the Chiefs at 40.
I think that's where you'd be shopping if you passed on wide receiver in round 1.
Yes.
I mean, those are the names to know.
Caden McDonald goes to the Texans at 38.
I'd love him in the second round.
Me
I'm not
too.
taking him.
I'd like any of these defensive tackles in the second round.
Hunter,
McDonald, of course, Banks. I don't think there's any chance he's there, but I trust what Dane is hearing and putting down here. But that was just an interesting one to me because there were a few chalky things in this, but there were, from Steelers' standpoint and elsewhere, a lot of surprises I thought in here too.
If it's not too much work, are there any second round quarterback, running backs, or tight ends?
Yes, no quarterbacks in the second round.
Okay, I was wondering if Nuss would have got in there or
no quarterbacks, but you said tight ends and running backs.
Tight ends or running backs.
Yes.
Not that really applies to Steelers, but I'd like them to go early.
He has Eli Stowers, the tight end out of Vanderbilt, going 62nd to the Broncos.
He looks like a Bronco.
And Jadarian Price, the other running back out of Notre Dame, going to the Seattle Seahawks at 64. So just one tight end, one running back in round 2.
Well, Seattle probably won't bring back Walker at this point.
That would make a lot of sense.
And Charbonnet got injured in the playoffs.
So he's probably not going to be ready to go for it. So another tight end, another running back. But through the first 2 rounds, just 2 tight ends, 2 running backs off the board.
And 2 quarterbacks.
And exactly right, 2 quarterbacks. So you would get into the third round with everybody at QB other than those top 2 guys. Let's talk some cut candidates when we come back here as we continue to just kind of free agency draft, bob and weave this week as we get ready for a big one next week. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson, it is The Drive. We're going to get to tweets before we get out of here, too. You know where to get at us if you want to get involved. Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Cut candidates, a big topic of conversation this week. Teams, it's not just free agency next week, Matt. That's the headline grabber.
Right.
But it is the start of the new fiscal year for these teams in the NFL, which means you have to be cap compliant.
Have to be.
By the start of the new fiscal year. So with that, cut candidates, we've seen a few.
Restructures,
all that stuff,
we've
talked about. Chiefs went to the bank of Mahomes. Cowboys went to the bank of Dak and CD. Mekhi Becton has been, informed that he's going to be released to save a little over $9 million in cap there for the Chargers. It's that time. Pro Football Focus publishing an article you sent me earlier today. The biggest cut candidate for each of the 32 teams.
Okay.
So I figure we can run through these. Some of these we can spend 5 seconds on, and others we can talk about a little bit more.
Might be on the list, or some of the guys that got
exactly
cut.
Right. And we'll go alphabetical. Arizona Cardinals is James Conner. We've discussed that.
Yeah, and out of interest if he hit
I would too,
market,
and I think I go back and forth between the just do what's best for business, I don't give a rip about anything else, versus rooting for the story and the human element and all that. There's part of me that's like, I don't care about the story, just give me the best team possible. But then I can hear Stan Savran in the back of my mind of like, when you do what we do for a living, always root for the story.
Yeah, and even just being at the facility, there is something, you can't forget that they're human beings. You're not building a fantasy team,
And James Conner coming back to Pittsburgh to finish his career here would be a heck of a story.
Yeah.
And not just as a, charity case. Like he can still
last
play.
we saw him, he was a pretty high quality player.
He can still play and certainly still has value. Atlanta Falcons, Darnell Mooney, wide receiver.
Yeah, it's quite possible, and he wouldn't interest me all that much.
And they've already announced their intentions to release Kirk Cousins.
Right.
Baltimore Ravens, running back Justice Hill. Had that neck injury last year, missed some time.
Okay. He seems like a new staff, I'd say. He seems like he was a favorite of the staff. I think he played all special teams for them, too. But he always hung around longer than you thought.
Would save the Ravens more than $3 million against the cap.
He's probably gone.
Buffalo Bills wide receiver Curtis Samuel.
He's gone.
They're
going to add somebody else.
They're going to add somebody else, and he's got 1 year left on his deal.
He was a pretty decent-sized deal, too.
It was, but all the guaranteed money's up.
Yeah,
so they would save like more than $6 million
right.
in cap space for a team up against it. Makes a lot of sense. Carolina Panthers defensive lineman Bobby Brown III would save them $4.3 million against the cap.
He wasn't great for them, but he is kind of that D tackle that can just hold the point and be the Steelers' nose type guy, veteran man strength type dude that maybe you sign him for $3 million type of guy if he would hit the open market.
Chicago Bears running back DeAndre Swift saved $7.4 million in cap space.
I know they love Mononga and they're really tight against it, so maybe, but you would think that's
he's
tough guy to replace.
Coming off the best year of his career.
Yeah, I don't think he's great, but
1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns last season.
I bet they don't.
Yeah.
I bet they trade DJ Moore instead, or
It's a big cap number though.
Yeah,
7.5 for a running back. Bengals defensive lineman TJ Slayton.
Yeah, and they wouldn't
save him
much.
$6.5 million.
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns tackle Cornelius Lucas.
Yeah, again, I think it's a decent savings.
Almost $2 million. And if he doesn't factor into their plans, might as well. Cowboys safety of Western Pennsylvania, Newcastle's finest, Malik Hooker.
Yeah, we've brought him up before. It's been a while, but
save almost $7 million in cap space. He's going to be 30 years old soon. He's got some injury history stuff.
Yeah, he could be my placeholder if you think you're going to get like Thiamin in the first round. You know what I mean?
He'd be a good number 3 or number 4.
3. Yeah.
Denver Broncos, another safety, Brandon Jones, would save them $7.5 million in cap space.
Okay, I can't remember how his last year went. He must have been more injury-ridden than I thought, but he had a pretty decent career before that.
Detroit Lions, Graham Glasgow.
That already
happened.
Yeah.
Not surprising.
Center and guard.
He's going to be 34 years old.
Yeah.
Save over $5 million. Green Bay Packers defensive lineman Carl Brooks, $3.6 million in cap space. I guess Josh Jacobs is an option, but
I'd be shocked if they moved on from Jacobs.
Same. This one, another kind of foregone conclusion that we've already discussed. Houston Texans, Joe Mixon.
Oh, no doubt.
It saves you
now the Montgomery traded. No doubt.
Saves you $8 million and you got your guy. Colts linebacker Zaire Franklin would save $5.7 million in cap space.
Yeah, just not worth it.
Jags, another safety. Good amount of safeties in corners on this list.
I like that.
Yeah. Eric Murray.
Okay. He doesn't do much for me, but okay.
Yeah, played just 12 games last year. Into the last year of a 3-year, $19.5 million contract. Kansas City Chiefs cornerback Christian Fulton, would save $5 million against the cap. Pardon me.
Wonder if that's still true with trading a corner.
I wonder about that.
Yeah,
maybe they need him now more than they thought. Las Vegas Raiders, our Lord and Savior Eugene Cyril Smith III, also known as Geno.
What's he save? I don't think he's going to be a Raider.
$8 million. Well, he's a dead cap hit of 8.5 or 18.5. Pardon me, but gets you $8 million in relief.
They don't need it. I think he could play somewhere else.
I
would like to have a big brother for Mendoza, though.
I do too,
right.
And I'm not saying Geno's right in this, but if you listen to everything he said this offseason, I don't think he's ready to be a big brother. I think he still thinks he can be a guy somewhere, and he could certainly be wrong in that. But
I think he ends up like the Vikings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
Chargers tight end Will Dissly.
Yeah.
$4 million.
Came on heavy. Disley's more the blocker, but he signed a pretty big deal.
Yeah, he saved $4 million in cap space. Los Angeles Rams cornerback Darius Williams.
Especially after trading for a
cornerback, and that would get them $7.5 million in cap space.
No-brainer then.
The Miami Dolphins. Speaking of no-brainers, you want to guess who it is, Matt?
Oh, Tua.
Tua Tagovailoa.
What's that get them exactly? Does it say?
If the Dolphins release him, they'll be hurting financially, taking on a $67.4 million dead cap number.
People lost their mind when Denver cut Wilson was like 40 or 45 was a world record at the time.
Well, this is going to shatter that, brother.
Yeah.
This is going to be the Joey Chestnut of dead cap hits and just shattering world records. That's the hot dog eating world record. Bad reference and joke there for all of you kids at home. Minnesota Vikings, TJ.
They're just going to eat their Wheaties, eat their veggies this year in Miami.
Maybe they'll be eating hot dogs because they don't have that much money to spend on dinner. Tight end TJ Hawkinson, Minnesota Vikings.
I think that's debatable.
He'll save almost $9 million against the cap, though.
And he's declining.
But he still does have value.
But I don't know when this was written, but Aaron Jones and Hargrave both have been released. Maybe that's instead of.
New England Patriots edge rusher Anfernere Jennings.
Yeah, he's kind of an edge, kind of an off-ball linebacker. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with Chase on, but that would save them a little under $4 million.
Yeah, it's worth it.
New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara. End of an era for him in New Orleans.
What's it save him? Does it say?
$8.5 million.
I'm shocked he's even still there to begin with. I thought he got traded to the Chiefs 2 years ago. Should have. But I don't think he's back.
The Giants guard John Runyon.
Oh, they're going to lose their right tackle. I don't think you can lose 2 starting O-linemen.
It's tough. But save them over $9 million in cap space,
I remember he signed a decent deal.
The Jets, Justin Fields.
I guess.
You
don't have to.
Yeah, you might as well keep him around.
Yeah.
even if you go and get a Kyler Murray, great.
Right.
They're kind of similar,
Yeah, I don't know if that has to happen. I mean, they have a ton of space, too.
Philadelphia Eagles cornerback Michael Carter.
Yeah, he's kind of got washed away with the gene.
Would save them $8.7 million.
Okay.
Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll give you a wild guess who it is.
It's Jonnu or Harrison. I'm sure it's Jonnu.
Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
Yes, $7 million in cap savings.
Easy one.
San Francisco 49ers. Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think he's truly going to hit the open market, and I'm more and more interested.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get him at a discount.
And you don't have to give up any draft picks for him or anything.
Right. I mean, he's only 27 years old, I think. 2 years ago, he was like the best receiver in the league.
life comes at you fast in this league. Seattle Seahawks quarterback Drew Lock.
I assume they think Milroe's ready to be
ready to be the guy.
I guess, yeah.
Would save them $2.2 million, and they are strapped against it.
Yeah, they need the money.
Well, they're gonna need. They're not strapped against it right now, but they have a lot of mouths to feed in free agency.
Stuff they need to go get.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers linebacker Anthony Nelson, just a shade under $2 million in cap savings.
Okay, that's small potatoes, but.
Tennessee Titans, another one of these corners in the past, developed by the Kansas City Chiefs and then moved along. L'Jarius Sneed.
I know it's a big cap savings.
Over $8 million.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. $11.4 million.
They have the most cap space in the league, though, but he's been injured since they traded for him.
Yeah.
I would imagine he's gone.
He only played 7 games last year. Speaking of which, to round this out, another injured cornerback, Washington Commanders. We already know this.
I think that already happened.
Marshawn Lattimore.
He may be done.
$18.5 million in cap space for the Commanders.
Trade. I think they gave like a third-round pick for him at the trade deadline 2 years ago, and he's never been good or healthy.
He had a couple really good years in New Orleans, and then was just.
And 30-year-old corners plus are
tough, man.
You do not want to be in that business.
It's tough, man. It really is. One more segment to go. You know what that means. We will close things down with your tweets to wrap up the day's proceedings. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. Get them in while it's hot. Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment today of the drive here on this Wednesday as we are getting closer and closer to a big week. I think we did a pretty good job of continuing to paint the picture and set the scene for all of that today here, Matt.
Yeah, I agree.
Big show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, really all of next week will be some very important ones for the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers and, of course, for all these teams across the National Football League. Matt, some tweets to get into here. Let's see as we get going. RJ tweets us and says, all available at pick number 21. Dylan Thieneman, Mekhi Lemon, Banks, and Colton Hood. Colton Hood, the cornerback out of Tennessee.
He'd be last.
At this point in the process, who would your pick be?
He'd be last. I don't dislike him, but
yes,
the other ones are all intriguing.
The other ones are all very intriguing. I think Lemon is the best fit for position of need. Mm-hmm. Although Thieneman fits that bill too.
Yeah, they both do.
I think Banks has the highest ceiling.
Thieneman at the position that's hardest to find elsewhere.
Thieneman would probably be the guy that would walk in and have the highest floor right away and give you the most kind of instant day one impact. So I think those
Lemon's similar though too. I think he's a high floor guy.
I agree.
I'd probably take Lemon, which is probably the most boring answer.
That's probably
Banks is probably the biggest variance.
I'm very tempted to take Banks.
Yeah, me too.
I'm very tempted to take Banks because there's not much like him in this draft class.
No.
There's not much like him in there's nothing like him in free agency.
No.
Whereas at least Thieneman,
have him with Hayward for at least a year.
At least Thieneman, you feel like there's some really good options at safety.
Yeah.
And there's certainly some in free agency too. So that narrows me to Lemon and Banks. But I made this joke to you. Like this is like the trilogy. This is like Return of the Jedi of having this same wide receiver conversation every year.
I know. I'm
ready to. I'm ready to close this story down.
I know. I'm real tired of it. I want to see him attack it with 2 fists. Go get Ayuk and Lemon.
Yes, that to me again. I'm just. Maybe it's just fatigue.
Enough.
It's just fatigue from what we do, and maybe I'm kind of wearing blinders in that sense, and not thinking it. But
we got to remember too. The Arthur Smith offense does not use wide receiver 2 nearly as much. Not even not even close to McCarthy offense.
Yes.
So, I mean, you blame the front office, but the coaches were using the players differently too, you know?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Eric tweets us and says, Matthew Berry also wrote one of the Crocodile Dundee movies, 2 or 3. I forget which one.
Oh, yeah, I remember him saying that. Yeah. It's good stuff.
That is good stuff.
I don't think he wrote the whole thing. I don't think he wrote every line of it.
No. Most of those, it's like TV shows and movies like that, there's like a group of writers.
I know that, like a sitcom, there's a writer's room. We're going to have one for next week.
Right, and when you got to pump out 20-some episodes
of The Simpsons or whatever.
It'd be tough for one person or two person to do that all themselves. Sudesh tweets and says, dream scenario, the Steelers sign one of Dobbs, Pittman, or Ayuk.
Okay.
I guess
But I don't think that's crazy.
I don't think that's crazy. And then draft 3 more wide receivers in the draft. I don't know about 3, but certainly 2. I don't think that's crazy to come away with one of those guys. And hey, maybe if you hold on to all 12 picks, it is 3 wide receivers. And one is a kick returner, special teams guy in the 7th round, 6th round. I don't hate that.
I don't think that's insane.
But it maybe
it would not be a first rounder.
Maybe just a little too rich.
Right. Like if you ended up with one of those 3 veteran names he mentioned, and who did we end up taking yesterday? We took the Georgia dude.
We took Fields and the Georgia guy.
Yeah. We took a big one, a little one.
Big one, little one.
And any of those 3 names would have been somewhere in between. I would definitely take that. And if by chance you took one in the 7th round too, so be it. Right.
And I think
it's some return skills.
Especially if there's some return skills in that conversation. Michael Adesso, loyal P1 of the program, says next week's going to be a lot of fun if Matt falls for the fake accounts.
That was him. Yeah.
That Max Crosby trade hasn't happened. Hey, give him a little.
Those verified checks are easier to come by than they used to be on Twitter, right?
That's why it's tough now.
He had like 6,000 followers and a verified check. I'm like, I think I'm in.
That's why I told you when that.
It's not my first rodeo. I know there's fake accounts out there.
When the first Mike Tomlin news broke the day after that Texans game, I spent 7 or 8 minutes just. Okay, that's Adam Schefter. Okay, that's Tom Pelissero. Okay, that's Jerry Dulac.
And I
checked them all 7 different times.
But next week could get real crazy with that.
Let's see here. Oh, certainly. We'll be on our toes. All right, we'll mind our P's and Q's. I think I told you this. I learned what that finally meant when we were in Ireland.
I think you did tell me, but I don't remember what
pints and quarters. So in the old,
I know the pints part.
Kids, back in the olden days before everybody had internet and cell phones, and there were only like 1 or 2 channels on TV, and they all went dead at nighttime. They all went off. They all went off at nighttime. Right. You'd go to the pubs, you'd go to the bars, and that's where the conversation happened. That's where the news was being discussed, all these things. And
I read it in the paper today.
Exactly right. And I heard this, and you heard that. Apparently, if you were at the bar and you didn't want someone meddling in your business, you'd say mind your own P's and Q's, which means they used to serve beers back then in pints or in quarters.
Oh,
so quarters were smaller. Quarters were like 8 ounces or 10 ounces.
Gotcha.
Pint, I think, is 16 ounces, right? So that's where it came from. If someone was there and just wanted to drink their beer and be left alone, mind your own P's and Q's. That's an old Irish phrase. RJ tweets, what is the best case scenario for left guard this year? Is it a early draft pick? Is it Isaac Seumalo, or is it an outside free agent? We talked sort of, but not specifically.
Is a weird way of phrasing it.
Best case might be you get
Vega.
You get a legit wide receiver in free agency, a legit safety in free agency. You re-sign James Pierre. Vega is your pick at 21, and then you add another.
That's definitely the best case scenario.
That's the best case, just specifically for that position.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna be like Zach Martin comes out of retirement, or Castro comes
Quentin
out.
Nelson gets traded for a 7th round pick.
And I think that could happen. I mean, that's not crazy that he makes it to 21, and you're just like, holy smokes, I'm gonna take him.
I think that's the best case scenario.
That's the best spot your left guard position.
And oh my goodness, you'd be set on your offensive line, and they'd all be 24, 25, 26 years old.
I don't think he'll get there because I don't know how he gets past the Ravens, but I think he needs to be in that Thielen, Banks, non-wide receiver, too hard to pass up type of guy conversation.
Well, how would you have him compared to those guys? Would he be at the
forefront?
forefront?
I think ahead of all of them. I mean, unless you had Seumalo under contract or Vera Tucker or something like that. Again, like Spaceship, you trading 21 for him right now?
Probably.
Yes.
Probably.
Are you trading 21 for Thiemann right now? That's a whole nother exercise.
Yes, without knowing any of the board.
Right.
Should we do that?
Going into free agency, I think we should do that. Maybe
I was going to say
for tomorrow.
You want to do that tomorrow?
Let's just do it live. Don't even do homework. We'll spring up names.
Yes or no? Would you
Mendoza,
trade
yes.
20?
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Caleb
Banks,
right.
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Let's do that. I'm going to write that down, actually, in my notes here. Okay, to get us out of here, a 3-pack of random questions from Andrew. What's the most recent thing you've become passionate about? Question number 1. I don't know if this works for me, but I'm gonna go gardening. Now this is like the last year or two. You know this because you always you always laugh at me. But like the last couple of years, I've done a little garden in my backyard. I do tomatoes, I do cucumbers, I do lettuce, I do peppers. Nothing crazy, but and I love it. So
sometimes these questions about like off the field activities makes me realize I probably need to get a life.
Listen, I've said this many times. If it's not the NFL or Mario Lemieux, Matt has no interest.
Right.
I mean that in a good way.
Like the answer might be what combine drills translate best per position. Like I don't think that's what he's going for.
Going through the league in your mind of which
short shuttles for guards.
Which division has the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right.
That's why we love you, Matt. Number 2, if you had to walk away from one big piece of technology in your life, what would it be? Social media.
Yeah, I would say social media counts, right?
I've been really trying
AI.
to cut back. Oh, well, you're right. That's definitely the answer.
Yes.
So
I don't like it or trust it or understand it.
I'm a boomer when it comes to that. I'm 80 years old and get that out of my life.
I mean, I don't think Sarah Connor and people are going to take over the world necessarily, but Terminator stuff. But I just kind of wish it didn't exist.
Same. It's when you see these videos of like celebrities and famous people, and it looks just like them, but it's not them. I know. Freaks me out.
Yeah.
Freaks me out. Let's see here. Last one from Andrew. Did you have any strange habits from the past that you have kicked? I used to play with my hair all the time.
Really, like a little girl.
Like when I would like a little scoo girl. Don't laugh at that, Justin. All right, that's not funny. The TV, you want to laugh over there? You don't have much hair over there. All right.
I just picture you with like pigtails over here. Like
no, like what I would do is if I'm doing research, if I'm like deep in thought.
Yeah.
I'm doing research for a show or something like that. I would like all the time just find myself kind of like twirling with the side of my hair a little bit.
Okay.
Where it got to the point where I was like, this probably isn't good because I'm probably going to have a bald spot if I keep doing this.
I had something sort of similar. Is like I got sunburned the year I was with the Browns. And when I'd be watching tape, my nose was real sunburned. I'd be like picking it. So it never got better. You know what I mean? Like while I'm watching film in the dark room and I'd be like messing with it or, that kind of thing. But it's not like I used to like chew my nails and now I don't. Or I think
mine's just the hair stuff.
Like I used to do a lot of crack and now I don't. It's like
I would hope that wasn't the case.
Right.
I used to just go out to the bar and intentionally get in fights on purpose. And now I don't.
Right. Now I don't. Good old days.
Good stuff today. Good fun ones to get us out of here. It's been a lot. The tweets have been great the last month or so that we've been doing this.
No, they haven't. I like closing on tweets.
Me too.
It's hard to do during the season.
It's hard to do during the season because we have so much to get to, but it's perfect during the off season because we can get some football ones, some Steelers ones, some goofy ones. We got time for it all. But that'll do it for our time today. So a big thank you to the good curly-haired Justin Miller on the 1s and 2s, the bald but still beautiful making fun of me video producer, Mr. TV. For Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Take care, everybody. Tomorrow, all of the prospects that we would trade the Steelers' 21st overall pick for and more. You know where to find us, as always. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.